Hi everyone, good morning, I'm Brock. So today I want to introduce a book I read in the past week. So the first time I read this book is back in 2014, and at that time I read this book and write reading notes. So 12 years later, today I reread this book. But since I already write a reading note before, I wanted to try something different. So what I did is that I used Cloud Code to generate a report about this book, which is 民国那些腕儿, and go through the report because I want to find something maybe I want to find some insights I didn't realize, which when I read this book. And the reason why I use English rather than Chinese to go through this report is it's simple. I just want to practice my oral English. Well, yeah, that's pretty much about it. Let's start. Okay, so I make the fonts a little bit bigger. So I transfer the book into TXT format so that uh, the the cloud code, the AI can recognize the content much better. So the book is published on 2011. It revisits the stories of Republican era warlords from a fresh perspective with rich historic materials, showing that the past is not mere smoke and mirrors. And the author is called Ouyang Wudao, whose original name is Chen Hua, is a history enthusiast who has worked as an editor and a journalist for multiple media outlets. And here's a table of content. It introduced the 19 or Republican era warlords. So this book, the overall framework is that the book adopts a biographic approach, outlining the complex politic and military landscape of the Republican era through the life stories of 19 warlords. It has several three main sections. The first section is called 北洋 warlords. It includes 袁世凯、段祺瑞、冯国璋、曹锟, and Wu Peifu. The second section is about the regional power warlords, like Zhang Zhuoling in Northeast, Yan Xishan in Shanxi, Chen Jiuming in Guangdong, Liu Xiang in Sichuan. And the last part is Guangxi clique and other factions. It includes the Guangxi clique represented by Li Zhongren and Bai Chongxi. Along with other important warlords such as Feng Yuxiang, Northwest Army, Sun Chuanfang, later Zhili clique, Zhang Zhongchang, and Han Fuqu. And here's some character trait matrix. So let's go through the top 10 core figures. Yuan Shikai, born in 1959 and died on born in 1859 and died on 1916. Key terms: strategy, imperial ambitions, detail-oriented, supers, stichers. Personality traits: remarkable memory for names and places, skilled at winning people over, detail-oriented, leaves room for maneuver, skilled at navigating between factions, deeply believed in feng shui and numerology, ultimately leading to his imperial fame. Major achievements: Xiaozhan military training, established China's first modern army, abolished imperial examinations, established modern schools, introduced Western technology, established the police system. Major failures: dissolved parliament, undermined democratic institutions, proclaimed himself emperor for 83 days, ended in disgrace. Historical assessment: Yuan Shikai is one of the most controversial figures in modern Chinese history. He made important contributions to China's modernization process, but his imperial proclamation makes his merits and faults difficult to assess. Skilled in strategy but lacking political conviction, he was ultimately destroyed by his own ambition and superstition. Second, number 2, Duan Qirui, born in 1865, died in 1933. Key terms: 6 no premier, incorruptible, go, March 18 massacre. 6 no principles: no corruption, no selling of offices, no smoking, no drinking, no prostitution, no gambling. Major deeds: studied in Germany, learned artillery tactics. 3 Republican contributions. Passionate about Go, sponsored Wu Qingyuan and many other players. Became vegetarian for life after March 18 massacre. Duan Qirui lived a clean life with no savings or property, dying penniless, an anomaly among warlords. However, the March 18 massacre became a major stain on his political career. His late life vegetarianism and Buddhism may have been for repentance or waiting for opportunities. His true motives remain uncertain. Wu Peifu, born in 1874, died in 1939. Key terms: Confucian general, for no, national integrity, refused Japan, 4 no principles, no concubines, no accumulating wealth, no going abroad, no entering foreign concessions. Major D's, scholar background, well-read, called Confucian commander. Prevented the dismantling of Forbidden City's three main halls. Repeatedly refused Japanese indictments, maintained national integrity. Publicly tore up Japanese prepared speech and walked away. Ultimately killed by Japanese agents. Wu Peifu was the warlord who most embodied the Confucian general idea. He adhered to principles, lived clean, and displayed strong national integrity during national crises, although repeatedly defeated by all Lord conflicts. His personal charisma and national integrity left a positive historic image. Number 4. Zhang Zhuoling. Born in 1875, died in 1928. Keywords: bandit origin, grateful, values education, defended Northeast. Major D's, from bandit to king of Northeast. Rewarded dedicated guard and arranged his marriage. Rather reduced army by 50,000, then cut education. Founded Northeastern University. Repaid benefactors generously. Repaid enemies with kindness. Killed by Japanese bomb at Huanggutun. Historic assessment. Although Zhang Zhuoling came from bandit origins, he was grateful and valued education, making huge contribution to Northeast's cultural and educational development. Through illiterate, he understood principles and showed national integrity in dealing with Japan. His son, Zhang Xueliang, Xi'an incident. Number 5. Chao Kun. 1862 to 1938. Key terms: brave president, simple and honest, commendable later integrity, refused collaboration. Major D's. Rose through connections with three patrons. Promoted Wu Peifu. Became friends through fighting. Elected president through bribery. Left with infamy. Refused Japanese indictments in later years. Commanded traitors. Famous quote: "I'd rather drink porridge than be a traitor." Chao Kun left infamy through his bribery presidency, but was kind-hearted and firmly refused Japanese collaboration. In later years, showing national integrity, his quote, "I'd rather drink porridge than be a traitor," redeemed his later integrity and partially restored his reputation. Number 6. Feng Guozhang. 1859 to 1990. Key terms: fish selling president, peace advocate, 5 generals, telegram, feng shui believer. Major D's. Fought end the 烈士城 in Sino-Japanese War. commander of imperial guards, handled emperor's education, joined the 5 generals in telegram opposing Yuan's imperial ambitions, sold fish to raise money when president due to financial constraints, believed in feng shui, died of stroke after moving ancestral grave. Historic assessment. Feng Guozhang came from humble origins, valued wealth, but had no reputation for corruption. He advocated peaceful unification and opposed Yuan's imperial ambitions, being relatively more moderate among Beiyang's warlords. The title, fish-selling president, was ironic but reflected the Republicans' early financial difficulties. Number 7, Feng Yuxiang, 1882 to 1948. Keywords: Christian general, pursued democracy, turncoat general, Christian believer requires troops collective baptism, pursued democracy throughout life, launched multiple corps, called turncoat general, skilled at assessing situations. Feng Yuxiang's position changed through his life, but he always claimed to pursue democracy. His turncoat behavior was controversial. Some saw it as an opportunism, some as pragmatism. During the War of Resistance, he firmly opposed Japan and condemned Wang Jingwei's collaboration. Number 8, Sun Chuanfang, 1885 to 1935. Keywords: false Buddhist, true war Mongol, commander of 5 provinces, mage date, studied at Tokyo Military Academy, had conflicts with Japanese instructor Okamura Yusuji. Once controlled 5 provinces, appeared Buddhist but warlike in nature, ultimately assassinated by Shi Jianqiao for revenge. Sun Chuanfang was a tragic figure among Beiyang warlords, once wielding great power but ultimately defeated in northern expedition. He appeared Buddhist but constantly waged war, showing inconsistency between words and deeds. His assassination made him a footnote in history. Number 9, Li Zhongren, 1891 to 1969. Keywords: Guangxi clique leader, used for military career. Taiyuan victory, later written. Major deeds: Guangxi clique leader with Bai Chongxi called Li Bai, defeated Japanese in Taiyuan, expelled the nation, served as an acting president, returned to maintain from USA in later years. Historic assessment: Li Zhongren made great contribution during the War of Resistance, with the Taiyuan victory being an important early success. His resolution return to the motherland in later years demonstrated patriotism, earning him the description used for military career. Later integrity like yellow flowers. Number 10. Zhang Zhongchang, 1881 to 1932. Key terms: dog meat general, 3 don't know general, all vases. Doggerel poetry. 3 don't know how much money he had, don't know how much troops he had, didn't know how many concubines he had. Major D's engaged in all vases, oppressed the people during Shandong governance, formed White Russian troops and armored trains, wrote dogged poetry, become laughingstock. Historic assessment. Zhang Zhongchang represents the most augur and scoundrel-like of warlords, oppressing people and committing many evils. However, he was flexible and skilled at seizing opportunities. Managing well in chaotic times, he was ultimately assassinated by Zheng Jichen, meeting a violent end. Important historic events. Ten landmark events. Number 1. 小站 military training. Yuan Shikai trained a new-style army at Xiaozhan, Tianjin. After 1894 Sino-Japan War at Xiaozhan, Tianjin, because Sino-Japanese defeat exposed the Qing army decay, leading the new army. The way is to adopt the German military system, held Germany instructors, strict training. Historic significance. Xiaozhan military training marked that the birth of China's modern army and laid the foundation for Beiyang Warlord Group. This army later became an important force in overthrowing the Qing and establishing the Republic. Number 2. 1912. Emperor's abdication. Who? 冯其章、冯国璋、段祺瑞、袁世凯, etc. What? Forced the emperor's abdication through 5 generals' telegram. 1. 1912. February 12. Well, Forbidden City, Beijing. Why? Revolutionary situation. Maintain stability. How? Military pressure plus political negotiation plus preferential treatment. Historic significance. The emperor's abdication marked the end of China's 2,000-year feudal monarchy, with democratic republican ideas beginning to take root. Duan Qirui's role was called First Republican Contribution. Number 3. 1915 to 1916, Yuan Shikai's imperial proclamation. Who? Yuan Shikai. What? Restored monarchy. Proclaimed Hongxian emperor. When? December 1915 to March 1916. 83 days in total. Well, 中南海 Beijing. Why? Personal ambition. Fortune teller's deception. Misjudged situation. How? 筹安会 advocacy. Concert advocacy. Changed arrow name to Hongxian. Historic significance. Yuan's imperial proclamation was the most significant political event of early Republican years, arousing nationwide opposition and triggered the National Protection War. Yuan was forced to cancel the monarchy and died of humiliation. This proved democratic republicanism had become the trend, and the imperial restoration was unpopular. Number 4. Zhang Xun restoration. Who? Zhang Xun restored Puyi. Duan Qirui suppressed. What? Restored Xuantong Emperor, failed after only 12 days. When? July 1st to 12, 1917. Beijing. Why? Presidential parliamentary conflict. Zhang seized opportunity. How? Led pigtail army to restore Puyi. Duan organized the suppression army. Zhang Xun's restoration was suppressed after only 12 days, earning Duan Qirui's title Second Republican Contribution. This force to provide imperial restoration was impossible and the republican system unshakable. Number 5. 1920 直隶安徽 War. Who? 直隶 clique versus 安徽 clique. What? Internal Beiyang struggle for central power. When? July 1920. Well, Beijing, Tianjin area. Why? Power struggle, policy differences. How? 直隶 allied with 奉天 5-day war. Historic significance. The 直隶安徽 War marked the Beiyang split into 直隶, 奉天, and Anhui cliques, with China entering more chaotic warlord fragmentation. This war showed the tremendous harm of warlord conflict to nation and people. Number 6. Cao Kun's branded election. Who? Cao Kun. What? Branded parliamentarians with money to be elected president. When? October 1923. Well, Beijing. Why? Desired presidency used the improper means. How? Give each parliamentarian 5,000 to 10,000 civil dollars. Historic significance. Cao Kun's branded election brought shame to Republican constitutionalism, becoming a major scandal. Ironically, His refusal to collaborate in later years partially redeemed his reputation, making him a typical of complex historical figures. March 18, Massacre. Who? Duan Qirui government surprised the protesters. What? Military police shoot at petitioning students, hundreds killed or injured. When? March 18, 1926. Well, Tiananmen, Aero Line Alley, Beijing. Why? Students protested 8-power ultimatum. Government used the force. How? Guards shoot at unarmed crowd. Historic significance. Lu Xun called it the darkest day since the Republic. Duan Qirui knelt in grief and became vegetarian for life in repentance. But this event became an incredible stain, indelible stain on his political career and accelerated the Beiyang government's collapse. Number 8, 1926 to 1928, Northern Expedition. Who? National Revolutionary Army versus Beiyang Warlords. Ought. National government's Northern Expedition to unify China. When? 1926 to 1928. Well, from Guangdong to nationwide. Why? Overthrew warlord fragmentation, unify China. How? Military offensive, political division, and popular support. Historic significance. The Lawson expedition basically ended warlord fragmentation and established the national government's national unification. Most Beiyang warlords was defeated or surrendered, marking the end of Beiyang era and the beginning of nationalist era. Number 9, Huang Gutun incident. Japanese Kwantung army bombed Zhang Zhuoling. What? Bombed Zhang's train. Zhang died of injuries. When? June 4, 1928. Well, Huang Gutun, Shenyang. Why? Zhang refused to be Japanese puppet. Japan wanted pro-Japanese regime. How? Planted explosive and railway bridge. The Huang Gutun incident marked Japan's ambition to invade China. Zhang Zhuoling's death prompted his son Zhang Xueliang's to change flags in Northeast, declaring allegiance to Nanjing's national government, achieving formal Chinese unification, while foreshadowing the later September 18 incident. Number 10, warlord integrity during war of resistance. Who? Wu Peifu, Chao Kun, and other warlords. What? Refused Japanese endorsements, maintained national integrity. When? During War of Resistance, 1937 to 1945. Well, Beijing and other occupied areas. Why? National righteousness above personal interests. How? Publicly refused, condemned traitors, unyielding until death. Key figures performance. Publicly, Wu Peifu publicly taught Japanese prepared speech, ultimately killed. Chao Kun, I'd rather drink porridge than be traitor. drove traitors from home. Feng Yuxiang condemned Wang Jingwei as worse than a donkey. Historic significance. During national crest, some formally warning warlords displaying strong national integrity, proving the ancient saying, brothers may quarrel within, but unite against external invasion. These warlords' performance partially revoked historic judgment of them and demonstrated Chinese nation's cohesion in crest. Analysis of warlord phenomenon. Why? Why law emerged? Qing decay, central power vacuum, local military forces grew powerful, foreign powers cultivated proxies, traditional gentry class disintegrated, chaos during old new society transition. What warlords did? Negative. Endless wars. People suffered. Heavy taxation oppressed the people. Regional fragmentation hindered unification. Positive. Some promoted local modernization. Protected cultural heritage. Developed education. Maintained integrity during resistance. Who are the main warlord factions? 北洋、袁世凯、段祺瑞、冯国璋、曹锟、吴佩孚、奉天、张作霖、张学良、山西阎锡山、广西李宗仁、白崇禧、Northwest 冯玉祥、云南唐继尧、广东陈炯明、陈济棠。问 When was the warlord era? Start 1916. Yuan Shikai's death. Peak 1920s. Warlord conflicts. Decline 1926 to 1928. Northern expedition. End 1928. Northeast flag change. Aftermath. Some warlords continued into war of resistance. Where warlords were based. 直隶、北京、天津、河北、安徽、山西、奉天 Three northeast province. Northwest Army. 陕西、甘肃、宁夏、广西、广东、云南、四川。How warlords maintain rule? Private armies controlled taxes, sought opium, received foreign power support, allied against the competition. Some implemented reforms to win hearts. How much? Scale of warlord era. Number hundreds of warlords, large and small. Major factions, 7 to 8. Territory, nearly nationwide. Duration, about 12 years. Causality, meanings that are in war. Economic loss, immeasurable. Comparison of major warlords. Yuan Shikai, master strategist, built new army, abolished exams, excessive ambition. Superstitious, Xinhai, revolution power vacuum. Proclamation caused the outrage. 段祺瑞, incorruptible, 3 contributions, Sturban, March 18, massacre, German military education, lost popularity and military support. Wu Peifu, Confucian general, national integrity, repeatedly defended. Politician naive, 直隶 clique leadership, Northern expedition defeat. Zhang Zhuolin, grateful, valued education, no education, cruel methods, controlled the Northwest resources, Japanese invasion and ambitions. Chao Kun, kind-hearted, late integrity, bribed presidency left infamy. 直隶 clique powerful, political reputation damaged. Yeah, so here is some interpretation about my own reading notes. Opposing stereotypical understanding. Inside point 2, arrows distinctive characteristics. Insight 3, arrow-shaped view of life and death. Insight 4, subjectivity of historic writing. Insight 5, thickness between success and failures. Insight 6, value of national integrity. Walnut tree radar chart concept. Yuan Shikai, highest in political wisdom, but low in patriotism. Duan Qirui scored full marks in integrity. Wu Peifu, highest in cultural cultivation. And patriotism. Zhang Zhongchang lowest across most indicators. Yeah, I think that this relationship network diagram is very helpful to understand the relationship between all these different warlords. Insights for contemporary times. Human complexity. Don't simply judge historical figures black and white terms. Human nature is complex and requires comprehensive, objective assessment. When evaluating contemporary features and figures and events, avoiding oversimplification and labeling, recognize their complexity and multifaceted nature. Insight 2, value of national integrity. During national crises, personal graft and factional struggle should yield to national richness. Facing external threat, and the challenges required unity, setting aside internal disputes to safeguard national interests. Insight 3. Zhang Zhuoling's vision, rather reduce army by 50,000 then called education, is worth learning. Education is fundamental to national development. Contemporary China should emphasize educational investment and talent cultivation as the cornerstone of long-term national development. Insight 4. Historical contingency and inevitability. Personal fate is closely tied to the tide of times. Seizing opportunities is important, but recognize that historic trends are irreversible. Personal development requires seizing opportunities while conforming to the times, not going against the tide. Insight 5. Cultural heritage protection. Wu Peifu's protection of forbidden cities' three halls shows that even in turbulent times, cultural heritage protection shouldn't be neglected. In rapid development, protect historical cultural heritage. Don't destroy culture for economic development. So this is roughly what this book is all about. Mm, although I read this, so it's very interesting. This is a first book I read, and this is the first book which I start writing notes after I read the book. Mm, when I write the writing notes, I actually didn't realize that I want to I want to read it. I will keep doing that for the following 12 years. Uh, and start my plan to read a book a week until I reach 600 books. When I just started, 12 years, 600 books, they had 600 reading notes. Sounds like, the end of the world. But now, when I finish all of them and started to reread the book 12 years ago, you know, it made me to remember who I am, how I looked like 12 years ago. I think it's something really incredible. And one of the reasons why I want to make a recording rather than when now, if I can, I hope to keep doing this in the following 12 years. And the main motivation is that I hope that 12 years later, when I look back to me today, it will trigger some funny memory on myself. That's my biggest motivation. And another source I have is that um, history actually is very interesting. I noticed that a lot of my classmates actually don't like history. But if you see, why I still have a lot of memory clips about this book. Part of the reason is that it tells a story in a very, vivid and funny way. So, actually a lot of times, especially during when we learn something, don't be so serious. Have fun. And then our mind would be open to absorb new insights, new knowledge, new information. Right? If read the book, if this book just lists the data, lists the facts, rather than like telling a story, then it will be very boring. And history at the end of the war, at the end of the day, it's just a connective stories of multiple people. Let alone those people are someone who are able to leave their names in history book. Even if just our, just a person as ordinary as us, I believe that if we are patient to listen to others' life story, we will still find that everyone's life story is very attractive, has something very fascinating. So yeah, so if we can, no matter what ideas we want to express, history, politics, religion, whatever, the first thing I think we need to try to do is to express our ideas in a storytelling way, rather than just, give facts and code numbers. Yeah, that's pretty much for these books. Thank you, everyone. Bye.